don't call it a win streak, but you can call it a win streak because it is the first one of the season for the Mavericks as they won their third straight game last night against the Miami Heat, and it feels good to be on the winning side of things. I can't lie to you. I was full team tank, and of course they win a few games, and here I am thinking I'm extremely delusional that they need to start winning more games here on out because, look, this team does look pretty solid over the last few games, and if they can continue this kind of play, I think we're not looking at one of the worst teams in the NBA. In fact, I think we're looking at a half-decent team in the league. Look, I'm excited that this squad is finally starting to come together, finally starting to string some good performances together as well. They've beaten a couple playoff teams here like the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat, and it just feels good to win. I don't care who you are. You can say you want to tank all you want. You would rather win basketball games. It feels good to win, and I want the winning streak to keep going. Do you want the winning streak to keep going, though? Type those MFFLs down in the comment section if you want the Mavs to keep winning games. They got a big one tomorrow night against OKC and then Houston on Saturday, so they have a real opportunity to kind of prove to themselves and prove to the rest of the league that they are not a complete laughingstock. And one of the big reasons for this winning streak is Ryan Nembhard. I continue to be wowed by him. I continue to be extremely impressed by his performances, and he's doing some stuff that is like pretty historic, if we're being honest. In these last two games that he has both started in, Ryan Nembhard has been absolutely remarkable. 28 points against Denver, 15 against Miami, 10 and 13 assists, extremely efficient from the field. He's only missed one three-point shot in the last two games and only has one turnover. And if I'm getting the stat correctly, I believe he is the first player in NBA history on a two-way contract to average at least 15 points and less than one turnover in a two-game span. It's pretty impressive what he is doing and how he has solidified himself as the starting point guard of this team. And we all know, and I've talked about it over the last couple of shows, that they are going to have to get him off of that two-way contract and onto a standard NBA roster spot contract. And the Mavericks will doing that. He simply won't be on a two-way for long. Now, there is no immediate rush for the Dallas Mavericks to do this because they have some time. Nembhard does have, it's 34 games left until he runs out of that 50-game allotment on the two-way contract. And Bobby Marks had the note here. Yeah, it is 34 games. Okay, that's what I thought. And you factor also in that the Mavericks don't have an open roster spot as they do have their full 15-man roster right now. They would need to clear out salary to fit Nembhard below that second apron. Now, the Mavericks don't have the requisite salary to sign somebody to a veteran minimum deal right now because they're too close to the apron. Now, it wouldn't be a veteran minimum, but it would be a standard minimum contract. But I think the easiest maneuver that the Mavericks can make at the end of the day is to wait until February 22nd when his 50th game happens and he's no longer eligible to play on that two-way deal. Then you just cut Dante Exum, sign Ryan Nembhard to that spot, and it's done and dusted. I think that would absolutely be the easiest way to do things, and it's probably what the Mavericks will end up doing eventually. I just love how he's playing, and I love that he has established himself as a rotation player, being a two-way undrafted guy out of Gonzaga. Like, the Mavericks clearly saw something in him, and they even saw something in him in the summer league to the point where he only played in 3 games, and then they told him, you know what, we're good. We saw what we needed to see after that. You're good to go. So they really they're high on Ryan Nembhard, and Ryan Nembhard is proving them right now by taking this starting point guard role. And kind of in conclusion, the Mavericks have time to figure out how they're going to exactly get Nembhard on a two-way deal, but they're going to do it. I mean, it's just the most obvious thing in the world that they're honestly going to make him a part of this 15-man roster because he absolutely deserves it. And most importantly, he has the trust of Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd to run that point guard spot, which is extremely difficult to earn because Kidd knows how to run PG basically better than anyone of all time. Show some love to the rookie down in the comment section. Type his jersey number 9 down there below. I'm just super excited about Nemby, and I love that we're calling him Nemby, by the way. You have Wemby versus Nemby. You have the 7'5" versus the 6 foot. 6 foot's being generous there. But I love how he's playing with the Mavs, so type those 9s down there in the comment section. And while you're typing those 9s, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We've got year-round Mavs coverage, the latest news, rumors, and analysis. We do live watch parties. We'll be getting back to those soon. We'll go live for breaking news like we did when the Mavericks fired Nico Harrison. We cover the free agency, we cover the draft, and all of that good stuff you can find right here on the channel at youtube.com/MavsTV. Join us today. Now, it's not all good news, as there is another doom for the Mavericks, as Daniel Gafford did re-aggravate his ankle injury and did not return to the game last night. It was an awkward play where he was kind of going for a loose ball, and he ended up falling. He stayed on the ground for a while before the Mavericks had to take an intentional foul and get him out of the game, and he did not return. Man, the Mavericks are just beat up at the center position. Derek Lively is missing time right now, and he was in a boot as of yesterday. So no timetable for his return. Who knows what the timetable for Daniel Gafford is and his return as well to action. Like, they're beat up at the center spot, and the only positive out of this is it does kind of force the Mavericks to play Anthony Davis at the 5, which is undoubtedly his best position. Like, we all know AD is better as a 5 than he is as a 4. It is painfully obvious to everyone involved, except Anthony Davis himself, who just wants to play the 4 because there's less, physical toll on his body. But it forces the Mavericks to play AD at the 5, and it makes them have a situation where they're able to be more versatile on the offensive end, and it makes everything kind of just fit better when Anthony Davis is playing center. Look, he's had a really good 2-game stretch as well. It's not just Ryan Nembhard that's filling up the stat sheet. Davis last night had 17 and 17 to go along with 3 blocks as well, and he had 2 blocks and pretty much outplayed Nikola Jokic in that game against Denver. Him and Bam Adebayo had a really good battle last night, and I like how Anthony Davis is kind of reestablishing himself in this Mavericks rotation. I think he played in like 28-ish minutes last night, so he's right around that 28-minute mark. He did play 32 minutes the other night, so he's kind of ramping up his workload a little bit. I still don't think you're going to see him play in back-to-backs, so it'll be interesting to see which game the Mavericks play him in, whether it'll be Friday versus OKC or Saturday versus Houston. I'll be interested to see what the Mavericks coaching staff and medical staff decide on that one. I think it might behoove them to play him against Houston, and you just kind of punt the game against Oklahoma City and try to play him against Houston. Although the Mavericks did play OKC really close the first time, maybe they can try to sneak out a win if AD plays a little better, but they probably have a chance to beat Houston. So if it were me, I'd play him on Saturday, but that we'll see what the Mavericks coaching staff and medical staff end up deciding to do. And I just really would like him to get a run of games. Like, I really just want him to stay healthy for over a month. I think that would be fantastic if he could play more than 5 games without getting injured. And he missed the back-to-back the other night, but it feels like he's getting healthier and healthier. He took a little bit of a beating from Bam and Kel'el Ware last night, who were both really good and really physical. So hopefully he's able to come out of that unscathed for the most part, and he'll be ready to go in this next game, whether it be Friday or Saturday. I'm intrigued and encouraged what I'm seeing by Anthony Davis. And look, if the Mavericks continue to win games and he continues to play well, we may have to hold off on the AD trade rumors, because I think the Mavericks would try to prioritize winning with AD, with Cooper Flagg, with Ryan Nembhard, and with Kyrie when he comes back from injury. I do think that could change the calculus of what the Mavericks are going to do at the trade deadline. We'll get to the rest of today's show here in just a moment, but we are sponsored by PrizePicks, and it is the holiday season where you and I are making decisions every single day on what food to eat, what games to watch, what picks to play on PrizePicks. You can do it all on PrizePicks, where it is super easy to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 to 6 player stat projections. You can watch your winnings roll in. And they do have a new feature where PrizePicks has early payouts. Even if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. I've been loving playing PrizePicks this basketball season, where I've been taking the more on Cooper Flagg, been taking the less on mostly Anthony Davis, and been taking the less on all of the Mavericks opponents, because we all want the Mavs to win, right? But you can play with the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America in over 40 states, including California, Georgia, and Texas. I do have a Thursday night football projection for you guys. Cowboys versus Lions. It's a big game there in the football world. Give me the more on Dak Prescott passing yards at 265.5. I'm going to take the more on George Pickens receiving yards, and the more as well on Jahmyr Gibbs rushing yards. So you can go make picks of your own or use mine. Just do it over at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS for $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, that is code CLNS for $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That link will be in the comments and description of today's show. Shout out to PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Now, what is the ideal starting 5 for the Dallas Mavericks? Because I really like the lineup that they ran out there last night, and it sort of just kind of got me thinking, when this team is fully healthy, outside of Kyrie, of course, like, what is the ideal lineup that they can throw out there? And the lineup they had last night was Ryan Nembhard, Max Christie, Flagg, Marshall, and Davis. So I think that's pretty close to what my ideal lineup would be, where I would just replace Najee with PJ Washington, bring Marshall off the bench, and Najee's playing great hoops, by the way. He's been fantastic for this team on both ends of the floor. But I think this would be my ideal starting five, and then you could bring the likes of Najee Marshall, the likes of Daniel Gafford off the bench, and all of a sudden, this team looks much more balanced, and it looks like a deeper squad. Like, you can bring Clay off the bench as well, and those are your three main guys, and you really have a rotation that can help this team in the short run and in the long run as well. And you can chop and change when you need to, of course, but I really like the direction that this team is going with, D'Angelo Russell coming off the bench. He's put together a nice couple of games. Klay Thompson's putting together a nice streak of games as well. He's been shooting the ball pretty solid. Look, I just like how this team is playing at the moment, and I think that they are trending in the right direction. Now, we'll really see what they're made of in these next two games against Houston and against Oklahoma City. But look, I do think that the best course of action going forward is to have Anthony Davis play center. And especially if Lively and Gaff are just not going to play because they're always injured, you're going to need AD to play the five. Like, we saw some minutes last night with Dwight Powell playing, and boy, it's sad what's happening to Dwight Powell, man. He is just not a good basketball player anymore. It just is what it is. He can't be on the court. So the Mavs are really going to need Anthony Davis to play center, stay healthy, and be able to ramp up his minutes as well. You'd ideally like him to be somewhere around 34 minutes a night, even if that might be a little unrealistic. But I hope he can get there, and I hope that he can stay healthy, stay on the court, and maybe even by the back end of the season, he'll be able to play some back-to-backs. Here's what the upcoming schedule looks like for the Mavericks. They have this back-to-back at OKC before they come back home versus Houston. And then they have basically a bye week where they have 6 days off before they play the Brooklyn Nets at home, Utah, and Detroit. So you're looking at 3 playoff teams here in OKC, Houston, and Detroit, and then 2 abysmal teams in Brooklyn and Utah. So can you go 3-2 in this 5-game stretch here? I showed you the 4-game stretch a couple of shows ago where I was like, just win one of these. Well, they've already won 2 of them. So start stringing some wins together here. Start grouping some games together and try to get winning records out of them. If they can go 3-2 here, split OKC and Houston, beat Brooklyn and Utah, and then if you lose against Detroit, it is what it is. They're a really good squad. But I really think this team can do it because I think they're just playing more inspired basketball and they're playing together. I don't think it's too much to ask for a split in the next 2. And I know Oklahoma City has lost 1 game all season. But the Mavericks did play them really well, and they had a extremely surging comeback in the fourth quarter of that game where they almost won it. They got the game to within 1, and they can never quite get over that hump. So can they do it on Friday? That'll be a nationally televised game, I believe on Peacock or one of those, Prime Video, whatever it is. I can never get used to the NBA's new schedule and what national TV games are what nights. But nonetheless, a big stretch coming up, and hopefully the Mavericks can come out on the right side of it. Before we get on out of here, though, I want to ask y'all, will the Mavericks get back to 500 this year? Do you think they will have as many wins as losses at any point in the season? They're 8-15 right now. Can they do it? Type Y for yes, type N for no down there below. And that will do it for today's show, guys. Appreciate you for tuning in to Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. If anything happens in the OKC game, in the Houston game, we will have you covered right here on the channel. So subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.